Today's a shadow, it's a dream, haunted by the past. I can't escape the memory. I wanna run, I wanna be there. If I tell you why,
yeah, so I pretty much called it in the last video with that first onshore that was coming up, that was going to be the end of the winter, and I guess that's it. So yeah, I'm in the old museum at Quicksilver, just to show you a couple of the pics and stuff. And yeah, I'm going to be doing a video on the sand and what it used to be like at J-Bay. So I'm going to show a couple of these images. Here's a bit of J-Bay in 1968. Yeah, take note of the sand and the slope and the height of the dunes. Some of the older pics were the sand. That was the point in the old days before the park with just the bush. The old J-Bay point, 1968. Some of the old point. You can see the sand, and back in the day when you could still drive on the beach. Have a look at the dunes on the left and the slope up to the dunes. You can see it over there. Some of the old pics of J-Bay. Look at the dunes here. Yeah, this photograph probably sums it up more than anywhere else. That's the channel, the bottom keyhole. And just look at how much sand is into that, and look, this is coming towards the whale tail, and I mean you can see how much sand is in the amongst the rocks. And going down to point, have a look at the distance of the beach compared to what it is now, and look at the distance here and the slope. You've got this gentle slope going up into the dunes. Obviously with the building, the guys bulldozed the dunes forward, increased the slope. This gentle slope, and this is what dissipated your swell, is no longer there to take up that energy. Probably that's the distance of your beach now with this vertical drop. It's quite crazy. Yeah, those are the dune fields at St. Francis Bay and the Crom River mouth on that insert. And you could see the Sand River and how that Sand River used to wash out onto the river, the actual Crom River. It's quite staggering if you look at it today. There's the Aston Bay beach in the old days. Just look at how wide that was. Look at the sand and the lagoon. So I know I'm going to get a whole lot of people saying to me, oh yes, this big storm is climate change and that's why the coast's washing away, etc. But they forget about the dune field that was covered up for the development of St. Francis Bay. And then you come to this river here, which is the Sand River. And this river here was a sand field which stretched all the way to Oyster Bay. And there was absolutely no bush, no grass, no nothing. Myself and Neville Hewlett used to ride bikes, motocross bikes, from here all the way to Oyster Bay. Yeah, you can see in the early aerial footage how this sand field stretched all the way from Oyster Bay to the actual beach at the river mouth at the Crom, and used to feed that section of the beach. So that sand used to feed down this area to the beach there. Unfortunately, this section here now has become part of the village, and the river flow now has been diverted through there into the Crom River, and with the vegetation growing, that also is very, very much limited now. And this is one of the biggest subterranean aquifers in the southern hemisphere. And this all, when we had a lot of rain, this used to flood and push water and sand down the Sand River, and it used to flood out on our right here, which is actually where the Crom River is. Yeah, the construction of the golf course on this massive aquifer is and boreholes to spray and to irrigate the golf course has taken a huge amount of water out of this aquifer, and therefore the aquifer started to grow vegetation and it's overgrown now, which is the byproduct of the golf course. This used to feed the entire Crom River area, and then that used to get washed out through the river mouth. And that's what fed those dunes and kept the sand spit there, which is now washed away and has been eroded. And then you've also got to factor in the fact that we have the Elandsjacht Dam, which is upriver of the Krom, which was also developed, I think it was in 1983. So all that stuff came together. So you had no more flow of water down the Krom River to wash out the sand, no more flow of sand out the Sand River to feed the system, and then covering the dunes, which was the main sand flow for Bruces Beauty. So if you wonder why these things happen, it's not because of climate change. Yeah, we're on a southern point here, and not only does this affect our beaches, you can see how these dunes from the beaches are actually fed from the southwesterly and then over the ridges into the next bay.
These are the last beaches before the coast swings back. So that sand used to come off the Oyster Bay beach. Those dune fields used to feed into the St. Francis Bay, and this came off the Tay Spire beach into the St. Francis Bay area, and then obviously the beach at Cape St. Francis.
But it affects all the beaches north of us, including Jeffreys Bay, Gamtoos, and as far as Port Elizabeth. Yeah, these entire beach fields are all linked together. This is the greater St. Francis Bay, and all these dune fields were linked together and would affect the Gamtoos area all the way up to Seaview, and then going on to Recife. And you can see there was a dune field at Recife, and that used to feed the beaches of Pollock Beach. So the moment they closed that dune field off, they had the same problems that St. Francis Bay is having. Yeah, this whole system is part of a larger bay, and unfortunately what's happened at St. Francis is going to affect everybody downstream of this, because your longshore drift is from south to north. So let's go and take a look what happened in the Jeffreys Bay area through this last year. Yeah, I just wanted to show you what's happened to the beach here. It's absolutely crazy. Just look at this. There's absolutely nothing left of the beach. I mean, if you look at that big swell, if you look at that footage on the big swell, this was all covered. This was, I mean, all the way up to over there. So this whole section has been totally scoured out. You can see how deep the little ravine is there. I'm just going to take a walk just to go and show you what the keyhole looks like. It's absolutely incredible to see this. I mean, you can see all the damage from previously with a big swell. Yeah, this was that mega swell that we had last year in August, which did most of the damage up the side of the embankments. And now we've had this small swell which has eroded the beach and pulled all the sand back off of what was left of the beaches. And I mean, this beach used to stretch to over there, you know, and it's just scoured out. It's just all this rock that's been exposed. I've been here 60 years and I've never seen it like this. So yeah, it's going to be interesting for the winter, man. We're going to need a big swell to push some sand from the bays down south of us up here and then around the corner to try and fill these beaches in. Even Supers has got these sort of holes and point as well. There's no sand, so the wave's not even breaking like it used to. So yeah, it's quite sad. I mean, none of these rocks here were exposed before. All this section of rock here, all of this down the side here was all under the sand, and it's been scoured out. It's pretty crazy. But just have a look at this. I'll have to pull that old footage I had of when I did the little walk out to the gully and show you the difference between when I went out last time and filmed it. Check out this footage of last year August when I walked a young gun out to just show him his way out of the keyhole. Have a look at how much sand was still lying in the keyhole area and how the rock was covered by sand in the whole area. Compared to this, I mean, all of this is completely under the sand. Normally, I mean, where that sand comes through, it normally just pulls forward like that, you know, and covers all of this. It's absolutely incredible. I mean, it's crazy. Just look at this. Never seen it like this. Yeah, in the original videos you'll probably only see just the tips of these rocks sticking out, like just the tops. You can see where it's sort of less scoured. That's the rest of it was all under the sand, you know. So man, there's tons and tons and tons of sand gone missing here. And here's another example of the keyhole in last year's swell, somewhere around about in July. And then once again compared to today, it's crazy. Take note of the dunes below Sharon's house, because this was in April of this year, and I'll show you what happens through the year and show you what happened down the line after a few more big swells.
Luckily, not on spring tides, just on neap tides.
Yeah, you can also see how eroded the beach is. I mean, we've lost an incredible amount of sand after that big storm, and then obviously now with the small onshore conditions, it's chewed out the beach in a big way. I mean, I haven't seen the rock exposed like this. There's absolutely no sand in between any of the rocks here. At least our boardwalks have been built back again, and yeah, the guys have repaired. Yeah, the entire embankment is collapsed. We've got no more boardwalk. I mean, the damage is absolutely severe. It's great. That boardwalk's gone for a ball. Look at that cutout. Look how much sand has gone missing here. I mean, that beach was at the level underneath the boardwalks, and there's an incredible amount of sand that's missing. See, they've pushed up some sand under the boardwalk up there just to help it. But yeah, last year's swell was once in a lifetime. That'll happen again, but yeah, that was a special one. I'm glad I took the time to film it. You won't see that in a hurry, but wouldn't say it wouldn't happen again. But yeah, they've done the repairs, got everything back to square one again, get us ready for the winter. Hopefully we get some decent swells that'll bring some sand up the coast and deposit it back on the reef here. Otherwise we're going to be surfing a seriously barren reef area for the winter. You can see they've done the parapets and the, what do you want to call these embankments. They've rebuilt them up again, caged it. I haven't been to the other side, but yeah, they've done a lot of work to repair the damage. Now just look at this area here, man, it's been seriously hollowed out. There's absolutely no sand. The beach is probably half the size of what it used to be. You see they've replaced that with the steps down. But yeah, sad to see. Wow, the devastation on the J Bay coastline there. The whole boardwalk is incredible. See, they've added a whole lot more rocks to the beach in this area here. This is what's happened overnight. They've done all these rock embankments to try and save the beach, and the surfers reclaimed it. Unbelievable. Just have a look at what's happened around the corner here on this beach. I can show you photographs of what this place used to look like in its day.
Yeah, in the 70s this beach used to be super wide. You can notice the dunes in the background between the houses and the beach.
And how wide this beach used to be. I mean, there's absolutely nothing left of it. Just look at that.
It's hard to believe that back in the 60s and 70s, this was the view looking back towards St. Francis Village. And this was the sand just as they were starting to cover the dunes and to do the development. And you can see how much sand there was at what we call the Granny Pool, and then looking down towards St. Francis Bay. Take note of the dunes on the left-hand side of the beach and how high they were.
Yeah, so this is what's left of the St. Francis beach. Really sad. This is where I grew up, where I started surfing right here.
In those days we used to surf Hewlett's Reef and the beach break. I started surfing it at the age of 8 years old in the late 60s on single fins, and we'd just leave the boards on the beach, on the dunes, overnight.
Just look at what's left of this beach. This beach has been absolutely destroyed. Look at the rock that's been thrown up here. Crazy. I mean, there's absolutely nothing left of it. Just look at that.
It's seriously hard to believe that as kids we'd played on this beach and even had baseball games on the beach.
It's actually hard to believe. This used to be all sand dune. This is the house that I grew up in. That's number 3 Sea Vista in the old days. That's one of the most original houses. That's the Ingram's house. That's one of the first houses that was built here. It's just after ours, but it's one of the originals. That hasn't changed. There's very few of the houses here that haven't changed from those days.
It's hard to believe that this is our house here, and this is the Ingram's house here. And we're basically standing in this area over here somewhere, and you can see the distance from the beach, from the edge of the beach to the houses. It's a massive area. And that is no longer. That's all been washed away.
I mean, there's absolutely nothing here. There's nothing left. It's unbelievable. We tried to talk the guys into building groins here. We needed to build at least 3 groins, like out to, like needed 1 groin here and probably another one and possibly a 3rd one. to try and save this beach, but yeah, the guys had other ideas and decided to put rock on the beach, and you can see the result of it. The result's an absolute bloody disaster. This entire development up Santorini, those used to be pure sand dunes. Yeah, this was the view of the front lawn of our original home in St. Francis. Here you can even see a small wave trying to break on a small swell. There was not one bush on there. That used to be sand. This entire area, in fact, used to be sand all the way to the point. And the moment they closed the dunes off and put the bush on there and developed it, yeah, that whole feeder system with the sand, it used to blow into the sea, like, you know, with those 40-knot winds yesterday, was what fed these beaches. There's no more feeder system, so there's no more beach. Yeah, it's incredibly sad to see what's happened here. Yeah, so I know I've been jumping around and taking you back to St. Francis, but that's where this all began. And you have a look at what Supers looked like. This was only 2 years ago, and then compared to what it looks like today, it's absolutely incredible what's happened. And what's happened at St. Francis is now being transferred to the Jeffreys Bay area. What was very fortunate is that we had a really big winter this winter, so there was a lot of sand transfer along the beach. Fortunately, that transfer covered up the huge degradation that had taken place over the summer months and filled in a lot of the holes. But yeah, the big problem with that is that that sand was just transferred laterally along the coast, and a lot of sand was also removed out of the sand dune, and that I'll show you as we go along. So the steep slope and the degraded area was pulled down and flattened out, and the sand was pushed back into the holes between the rocks, and it all looked great. But when you take a closer look at what's happened, you'll see what really transpired. Take note how flat the beach is and how there is no slope on the beach. Yeah, this year's winter was absolutely incredible, and we had one of the best surfing winters in my memory. Unfortunately, with it came some serious degradation of the dune fields and of the beach itself. So let's go and have a look at that. Absolutely magical day at J Bay. Oh man, no wind, warm, beautiful, beautiful day. Mike on the beach filming, everybody going for a walk. Sunday delight. Let's come and have a look at the sand that's gone into the rock pools here. It's amazing. You can see all the rocks are surrounded by sand now. Have a look at this whale tail. This is the one, I mean, where we're standing now was pure rock in that previous couple of videos back. This is the whale tail. Look at it. It's almost buried now. And this whole area down here was all right around this was all scarred out. There was absolutely no sand whatsoever, and you can see in all the rock pools here there's sand. So all the indents and all the indentations have been taken out, and the bottom is flat, especially out on the reef as well, and it's just made such a difference to the wave. Obviously there's a massive trade-off because it's come out of the dunes. Yeah, you can see how the dunes being undercut underneath the vegetation, or the stuff we're trying to use to protect this beach. It's slowly disappearing at a rate of knots. Yep, we try and put that stuff up, but nobody seems to listen. You see it's hit the bottom here. You see the stuff stuck in the gabions. Yeah, so you can see it here. You can see how it's falling down. It's pulling it out of the vegetation. You can see where all the irrigation pipes and stuff were. It's no longer. We've got an equinox tide coming between sort of the 21st, 22nd, 23rd of September, and I can tell you that if we have a big low pressure and a big swell, a south swell over that period, there's going to be mega damage here, because there's just nothing to protect these dunes anymore. Yeah, notice the similarity between the vertical wall and what you see down the vegetation here. Scoured all the sand out and it's just dropping vertically. It's crazy. Well, I've been warning about this beach and what's coming, and you can see what's happened up there. All that work that they've done is being undone again. It's not going to be long, and those houses are going to be perched on the beach. This wall here is already being eroded away. Yep, it ain't going to be long before all this goes. It's on its way already. That front section with the benches and stuff. Next equinox tide, all of this is going to go. All those walkways. There ain't much space left between those houses and the beach. Here, there's just about none. Unfortunately, that sand's come from the dunes, which is a major problem. The beach has been flattened off now completely, so there's very little slope, and that's why this, you can see up there, it's going into the dunes directly, and all the vegetation is falling down. I mean, those houses there are going to be at serious risk in the next few years. It's going to be interesting to see how this all unfolds. But what the sand's done now is it's been pulled off the beach, and it's into all the crevices and all the rock, all the indentations in the reef now, so the wave becomes smoother and much more regular, and your barrels become cleaner. The early part of the year, in sort of June, July, the wave had a really funky look to it. It wasn't even connecting, and even the section down through salads and from between salads and tubes wasn't connecting. There were these big gaps in the wave. Now, with the sand having been pulled back and straightened down the point, the waves actually connecting all the way through, and there were a good couple of guys that got waves from boneyards all the way down to the point. How long it's going to last, I don't know, because there's no replacement sand, and any sand that comes off this beach now into the lineup is going to have to come out of the dunes, and that's a major problem. So I'd been worried about the equinox tide in September the 20th, and we actually ended up having a huge southeast swell arrive during the kneeboard world championships. A really powerful swell.
Wow. This is a good shot.
Absolutely pounding.
Wow, this is insane.
Heart in the mouth stuff, boy. That is crazy. Would you go? Breaking in the middle of the bay. It's a left-hander, J Bay. Left-hander, J Bay. These poor guys. Yeah, and the poor beaches down at the point took an absolute pounding in the big swell. Fortunately, it wasn't a south swell, which is a long period swell with even more energy. Now, just have a look at what's happened down on the point here. All the sand has been taken away. Exposed all the rock. There's almost no beach whatsoever left here. Scary stuff. There's absolutely no sand down here. There's still some up at Supers, but this area has been decimated. It's crazy what this looks like. There's just about no sand left on this beach. One rock slab. Yeah, just look at that. Just looks like a glacial moraine. Just rock pebbles. Really sad to see, man. Yeah, and this armoring of the beach that they're doing down here by putting the sandbags is probably one of the worst things you can do to speed up the erosion. But they basically don't have any option, because these houses are now really on the beachfront, and you can see that down below there, it's almost onto the houses. A little bit of a close-up of what's happening here. These houses are almost on the beach now. They have no option but to barricade this, or as they say, armor the beach. What's sad is that the slope that you see here was almost man-made, where they used the bulldozers to push the sand up against the sandbags to create some slope. And the slope that was up there is now down here, but this won't last long, because the moment this gets eroded down and flattened, that's going to be it, I'm afraid. Overnight damage. That shit's going to go west eventually. And you can see the result of the erosion in the dunes going back up Supers way, where the sand had been taken out and hollowed out and the beach flattened out. The dunes have taken an absolute pounding. Yeah, it's truly sad to see what's happened to this beach. I was actually in the surf at Supers the other day, and I was talking to one of the guys who's involved in the engineering for these groins, and he tells me they're going to do 20-meter wide groins, and that they will be 200 millimeters under the level of the low tide water level. So in other words, they're not putting groins out that are above the sea level. And I just laughed at him, because that's the most laughable solution that they've come up with, which will not work. There is no way. You have to stop the water flow to make it deposit and to catch the sand. If it's going to go over the top of the pier or over the groin that they, or whatever it is that they call it, the speed bump that they're putting under the water, it's never going to work. And that to me is an absolute no-no. So yeah, I'm not a expert at this, but I've been around the ocean for long enough to understand. And if you look at what's been done worldwide, the only things that have worked are proper groins. And unfortunately, this project is dependent on the replenishment of sand to these groin areas, which are now waiting a final EIA approval, and then the first development will start on the left-hand side, 2 groins. Yeah, the first phase is currently out for tender, but it remains to be seen how they're going to transport the sand and where they're going to get it from. Apparently from the Crom River, but the amount of sand that is needed is immense. These studies were done in 2013, and the amount of sand that's gone missing in the meantime, I'm sure, is at the level of 4 to 5 times what was originally estimated, which was 1 million cubic meters of sand that needed to be replenished up the beach in order for the project to work. Yeah, this is a hell of a cost, and this is going to be the most expensive part of the project. Unfortunately, this is not going to help the Jeffreys Bay situation and the situation along the entire beach area in the bay. So it remains to be seen whether this is going to make any difference whatsoever. Yeah, it remains to be seen if these weird and wonderful solutions that they have will make any difference. I think the damage is so severe now, it's going to be very difficult to reclaim any of this beach, because there's no feeder system left, because the dunes have been covered. But yeah, let's see what happens. Hopefully I'll live long enough to see something change. Yeah, so enough doom and gloom for one day. Hopefully the dawn of a new day will bring new solutions, and we get to keep our beautiful Supers surf break, and that it gets to be enjoyed by many into the future. Thanks for joining me. The surf season's over. We'll be switching over to a bit of fishing in the future, so stand by for that. Make sure you subscribe, and we'll catch you on a new day, on a new activity. Thanks a ton for watching. Ciao for now.